Hello, everyone. We are live. Let's get into our um, coaching session. Hello.
Hi, Alan. How are you, brother?
I'm good. How about you?
Yes, good, thank you. Good, thank you. How's your week been, all right?
It's been better than I thought. It's been better than I thought.
Yeah,
Yes.
I know. I think you're at your maximum I rating at the moment, aren't you? I think it's like 3.5. Yeah, just
Yeah.
over 3.5, I think, at the moment. Yep.
Yeah. It's almost 3.6. Like 3.57 something. I think. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. No, that's exciting, man. I'm glad. I'm glad this week is proving to be good because again, like it isn't an easy circuit here at Ledenon, but I think as we kind of learnt last week, as you do find a little bit more with it, it makes life much easier and it kind of gives you a really good edge in terms of what you're doing. So I guess yeah, how are you feeling at the circuit? What's your feelings with it?
Yeah. I think I got more confident like day after day. I was very cautious the first
Yeah,
day and like concerned. I had a race
yeah,
that I was taken out, so I had to climb it back, and I did. So I was like, okay, I
sure.
can do this. And one thing that I
Yeah,
realized is like, it's a circuit that's hard for everyone. It's not like hard for
yeah,
me. It's hard for everyone. And
yeah,
with that in mind, like I think I have developed my skills to a point that I
yeah,
can be consistent. And even
sure.
yesterday, like I went to the track. I was practicing at Navarra. Then
Yep,
I
yep,
decided to go last minute to the race with zero practice, like zero warm up. Had like a very
yep,
bad qualify lap. I was still like in the middle of the pack, but I had a very
sure.
solid start, like very consistent race, which is something I'm like intentionally working on. Really like having
Yes,
those laps like clocking almost the same time. And the
yes,
car ahead of me like made some mistakes. I had an easy overtake, and then I increased the gap. I brought P2 home, and I was like, this was actually a very good race, even though like it was a bad qualify. The race itself was very consistent. So
sure.
I think we're making progress. I think we're making a lot of progress.
Yes. No, fantastic, fantastic. And it's a bit like that every week, isn't it? You can see that, there's weeks where you have your kind of, you have your leaps and bounds, you have your ups and downs, but that's all a part of racing, I suppose. Like, not every week is going to be, you feel like almost, you feel like you're going to perfect it, and I think that's the big reason why, especially with like, it's not really a way to ever be, especially when you're learning, but you will typically see like a lot of the higher I rating guys that are around that 7, 8-ish K, like, you don't see them every week. And I think it's just mainly for the fact of, they only do the tracks that they feel like they're completely comfortable in. First of all, being on the absolute most pace that they can and being on that best pace. But I think as well, driving a circuit that they know that, they can have a really easy race if they get things right. I think like at Ledenon this week, if you do realistically get things right around here and you can execute the lap time, it can be very easy for you, if everything goes to plan, it can be very easy for you to actually break away a little bit and just have your own race, to be honest with you. And that, as a high rating driver, is something that you love. You love having the races where you just go and drive by yourself. But, in the position that we're in, it's the races like these where you kind of in the pack, you maybe get overtaken a fair bit, learning how to react to it, learning how to stay composed, learning how to still execute everything in a calm, composed manner. And I think that's very important because I think I saw a race the other day that you were doing. I was watching your stream, and I think it was like you qualified, I think third it was, and then I think you had two guys that bombed down your inside coming into turn two, and then I think you were down in like fifth or sixth, for example. And again, you stayed very composed. You stayed true to what you knew what your pace was. You stayed true to it, and you worked your way back up. And in the end, you ended up having a good race, and you ended up still getting positive I rating, and it all went to plan. But I think the big thing is just like a lot of, or maybe in the past, I guess when we look back to tracks like, maybe Summit Point, for example, or even earlier in the season, I think, we're definitely starting to take a bit of a step forward in terms of the mental capacity in races, and just, I guess, remembering to stay calm and stay composed and just be consistent with what you're doing and know that you can do what you need to do. You just got to stay relaxed about it. So do you definitely feel like in yourself you're finding that that's improving quite a fair bit as well? You're finding yourself be a lot more composed and relaxed when something doesn't exactly go to plan in the races particularly?
Yes, I think so. Like we discussed a few days ago about
Yeah,
this, and we were talking about like looking ahead and focus on what you
yeah,
can do, controlling the
yeah, yeah,
inside. And I've been like, I think I've been doing a much better job on controlling the inside of some corners, but
yeah,
sometimes
sure.
like sometimes I won't say people still surprise me. I'm like,
Yeah.
if they really dive for this, we're gonna crash, and I'd rather
Yeah. Yeah.
not like be there, because if I am there,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like behind, and they're gonna have a better exit on the next one. So I'd rather give them the
Yes.
chance and have a much better exit on the next corner and just take it back. And also the other
Yeah.
thing, and I've been learning a lot from people like with way lower I ratings. And I
Yeah.
even like I was talking in the stream, like sometimes I get iRating racist because I see like the
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
1.4K, like this guy, he's gonna do something
Yeah.
stupid. It's a matter of time. So I'd rather be behind him like for half a lap, putting as much pressure as possible, and see him going like completely off track and overtake and be like half a second, like 1-2 seconds ahead in half a lap, than like have them diving on the inside all the time and costing me time. Because that's what happens,
Sure.
right? When you're defending, it's really costing you
Yeah.
a lot of time.
Yeah.
And I've
100%.
been trying to avoid those things during the race and to be like more
Yeah.
strategic. But I think the main
Yeah.
point for me has been like looking ahead, what I can do. Like if there's someone behind me, I usually check the delta. If it's like point 0.4 or more, I'll just race my race, because every single time I race, look in the mirror, I make more mistakes, and I have to be
Mhm.
consistent
Mhm.
looking ahead. So that's been my mindset.
Yeah. No, for sure. And that's a really, really smart way to go about things. Because yeah, look, I think for all of us, at the end of the day, if every race that we did was smooth, was clean, was fast, was no real, there was no real blockades almost in a way. Sometimes it would be very, very easy. And yeah, it is super easy, like you said, to be like that, where you kind of feel like you can't, you know, where you kind of maybe judge people's performance on their iRating, and I do it as well. I definitely do it as well. But the fact in the matter is that okay, like especially when you have tracks like this, like Ledenon, where where the start line is to where I guess turn one or turn two is, it can be very, very easy as you've experienced to lose out. It can be very easy to lose those two or three positions just because of, maybe you didn't get exactly the best start, or again, you always know that those drivers are going to be a lot more aggressive with their maneuvers and really kind of they just, bump into the corners and just go super, super hard in without really thinking about anything else. And again, in all honesty, no, disrespect, but at the end of the day, that's why the I rating is where it is, because
Yeah.
their ideologies of racing is just about let's try and dive bomb the damn car as aggressively as I can, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, then that's okay. I'll just Alt F4 and start again the next race. That's their ideology. And in all honesty, like when I first started iRacing, 6 years ago now, my idea was the same. I didn't. Well, it was more so the case of I didn't actually know that there was an iRating, so it was just kind of a case of I'd go into a race, I'd crash probably, and it was okay, I'd quit. And I remember me and my mates we were looking at our first ever races between everybody. And I remember my first ever race at an iRacing, I disconnected. I Alt F4, right? And I think that's the biggest thing, is just a lot of these guys don't really think about the number. They're just kind of like going and racing, and they're just whatever happens happens, and that's why you see so many people just crash into you or be really aggressive and then have an incident and all that sort of stuff. And it's because they don't really care. They don't take it as seriously as what someone like myself or yourself do, where it actually means a lot to us,
Yes.
having a number that shows this is where our skill level is. So it is quite hard. And again, that's the whole thing. As you keep improving, you'll continue to get better in that sense. But it also is the fact in the matter of, as you step up car selection as well, as you move up car category, you actually find the racing becomes a little bit more proper, almost in a way. Like especially as you start to go to cars like GT4 or Pickup or GT3. Like okay, yeah, look, there's still incidents 100%, but I think the biggest thing is that the strength of fields tend to get higher. Like even if with yourself as like a 3.5K driver, like you're not really probably going to find that a lot of the time, especially in the bright parts of the day when you're racing, you're not really going to ever find yourself with anybody below probably 2,500 in a race, almost in a way. So, the big thing is that you always know that everybody in that race is at a pretty decent and competent level, where that they're not just going to take you out because of the fun of it. So I think yeah, it's definitely a car category thing as well. The BMW, again, as we know, it is still a rookie series, and all the drivers that are racing have probably more so recently just popped out of rookies, almost in a way. But at the same time, when we think back to the beginning of our journey together, we were kind of in a very similar position. You know, our iRating was very similar. You know, we were around that 1800, 1900 iRating sort of area, and you know, the way that we were driving in terms of structurally probably was very similar to the way that they probably drive it structurally. So, you know, I think the big thing is just like, you know, they're where you used to be, but they're not where you are anymore, and that's the difference. So yeah, like I said, as you start to improve, as you start to get better, it'll obviously come along. But I'm glad that yeah, you're having a good time this week so far, and yeah, you know, the weeks that maybe we thought we'd be struggling out a little bit more, you're actually finding you're doing relatively quite well. Of course, there's still that little bit of reach to the kind of, you know, the top guys of the week where they're, you know, maybe going a good 3 or 4 tenths faster, you know, on a lap. But again, you know, that's just track experience and track knowledge, and just again, like we always say every week, those little minute differences that, you know, might gain half a tenth here, which might lead to a tenth there, or another half a tenth there, or another half a tenth there. And it all, you know, eventually kind of adds up. So, yeah, no, look, I think it'll be a good week nonetheless for the rest of it. I think just keep on doing your thing, and it'll be interesting to see where you can get to by the end of it. But obviously with Navarra, what's your thoughts of this one? Is this one that you've ever driven before, or is this a brand new
No,
circuit for you?
I've driven like a dozen times with the Formula V's, with the
Okay.
F1600, and it's a fun.
Yeah.
I think it's a fun track. So the good thing is I know the layout. I know what the
Yeah.
challenging parts are.
Yeah.
It's very different to drive with the BMW, but
Yeah.
I don't know like if it's a fair statement. But I think a lot of Ledenon translated well to Navarra,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. For sure.
I think like maybe going the other way around, like from Navarra to Ledenon, would be easier because Ledenon has a lot of inclination. It's in Navarra is like pretty flat, like most of it's pretty flat. So I think that
Yeah.
makes it a little bit easier as well. And
Yeah.
but it's still like a tricky track. I was able to put like a good lap in the first session. Today I did another session. I improved my lap time, and I still feel like there's another 2 or 3 times that I can realistically improve because I saw like the Delta and they make a silly mistake that I don't make all the time.
Yeah.
But I like the way one of the things that I liked a lot, and it varies like from lap to lap because some laps I get some stuff right, other laps I get other stuff right. But we have like different approaches in different parts of the track, but
Sure.
the delta is not like I was when I saw the delta and what was happening in our very different approaches. I was like, actually, if this is the cost of me like having this comfort level to what I'm doing, I'd rather be here and have like and
Yep.
lose 500ths of a second, or eventually
Yep.
like just get better like 500ths of a second in this using like this line, than trying to do something that looks completely unnatural to me. But
Yeah.
it was
Sure.
very interesting to see you racing around and like
Mm.
missing the curb as an apex on purpose
Yeah.
and going later on the
Yeah.
throttle. It's like, oh, that's very interesting. That's a very interesting approach.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's a very unique circuit. It's definitely not an easy one by any means. It definitely really makes you have to be open to experimenting. I think that's probably the big thing that I would say about here, being open to experimenting. And then like you just explained just there, which is nice to hear you say, you know, sometimes it's actually better to, you know, be more comfortable doing something else and losing a little bit on that delta, but feeling like you can confidently do that without any issue. I think probably where, you know, well, I can see probably where it is and where you maybe feel like it is probably that kind of 5 to 7 sequence where you kind of got that long left and then it goes into the next left. There's a lot of different ways that you can kind of go about, you know, that corner, for example, or even turn one, you know, there is, or turn 2 and 3, whatever they consider it as. There's also a lot of differentiating ways you can go about a corner like that, but it's just about whatever makes you feel most comfortable. But to be honest with you, like if you can be and feel consistently comfortable running a pace like you are right now, being that 4 or 5 tenths off, like it's actually pretty decent around a circuit like this. I mean, I've done a fair chunk of racing around here in my time, both on this layout and there's another layout called the medium circuit, which is basically like looks like a guitar almost in a way. So instead of like coming out of 1, coming out 2 out of 3, you do that all the same. But instead of continuing turning left through 5 and going into the track, you just kind of go down that big long straight, and then you kind of have 2 more corners. There's like a right hand hairpin, and then you go into the final corner up the hill there into the last corner, and that's the circuit. So there's also that layout there. But from times I've raced on this particular layout, like, you know, you can always pop it on pole by, you know, a good 3 or 4 tenths, no worries. But you know, just because the straights are so long, there's so much draft opportunity around here. It's very easy for you to feel like you can, you know, you can kind of, yeah, just have anybody else around you almost in a way that's in a recent or a decent vicinity, which, you know, isn't always a bad thing depending on who you're racing, but it's also a case of depending on if you're the one that's chasing and you're the one that's maybe a little bit down on time, it's really, really good for you. But it's more so the one that those times that maybe you're the one that's on the pole and you might be that guy that is that 5 or 6K guy and you're trying to get away here, yeah, it can be quite tough for sure. So yeah, no, it'll be a good week anyway, but it's nice to see that already off the get-go you're getting, you know, you're getting the time out of it, which is good. And are you feeling more comfortable in being able to start to, yeah, you know, rock up to a new week and feel like you're getting those, you know, those 0.3, 0.4, 0.5%, you know, getting in that kind of region more consistently now? Because yeah, to be only half a second off of a truck like this, I think is a really great place to be, in my honest opinion.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I think like it still depends on track. I think whenever it's a track that's slower, like
Yeah,
Ledenon, that's like a lot of corners here and there. I
yeah,
feel like our gap's still like on the closer to the 1%. But
yeah,
what I
sure.
found like in circuits like this, like Alton Park and stuff like that, that we have
Yeah.
like a lot of straights. Our
Hmm.
gaps like closer to the point 0.5. Like right now are at 0.47% because I was curious enough to calculate it, which is like I'm super happy with. Like I'm really super happy with.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, for sure. And this is basically a first time for you at this circuit as well. You haven't visited this one before.
With this car now, I've done like Formula here before.
Oh, okay. Yep, yep, yep. I feel like a Formula car here is a bit of a completely different ultimatum at this circuit, to be honest with you. It feels like you can take the corners in such a different way in those cars. So,
Yes.
yeah, it's a bit of a different feat when you kind of attack a circuit like this, almost in a way, in those cars at least. So, yeah. So let's have a look. Let's start out. So 210, turn 2 and 3. You know, for me, typically, you know, this corner is probably one of the most tough corners almost in a way to get right, and it's probably the most consistent one that I see a lot of people get incorrect. I think it's just more so the case of everything that we've learned up until this point at tracks like, you know, Winton, or, you know, even tracks like Alton Park, or all these kind of, you know, little sort of types of tracks that we've been dealing with almost in a way. Um, it's given us a great idea of how to kind of attack these corners and what we almost want to be doing in corners like this, because it's usually the drivers that I maybe haven't really been working with for an extremely long time, or maybe it's just even not even just a package, it's just maybe it's their first lesson with me in the period, and we're working at this track initially. You know, this is the corner that always tends to stumble people, because I think it's one of those ones, as we've talked about in the past, where we're dealing with more so like, you know, having two braking zones, but in the one braking zone. And you very much remember that back in the past, if you were dealing with a corner like this, you would have been trying to break this down into two sections. I'd probably say you would have had an initial braking zone that you would have released off the zero, and then you probably would have had a second braking zone beginning as well, which you would then, you know, incrementally get up your brake to a certain pressure. But that's the problem, is that whenever you do that, you'd probably be carrying too much speed in, which would then mean you would have to overslow the car, which then means you would probably lose 2.5 tenths. So do you feel like your knowledge of stuff we've discussed in the past in corners like this has really helped you to kind of get it down packed and understand what you need to do here in terms of trying to, yeah, emulate or modulate the brakes in the right way to get the corner to do what we need to do, I suppose, in one way or another?
Yes, I think so. So there are like two things on this corner that
Yeah,
come like from everything that I've learned with you like over the past few months. And the
yeah,
one was like, and I'm not gonna say like I was trying to figure out what type of braking zone this was. I was like figuring
yes,
out. Like I was feeling the brake and I
yeah,
was like, okay,
yeah,
I'm gonna go harder here. Now I can let it carry a
yeah,
little bit more speed, but I still have to be on the brake. And now I need a
yeah,
little bit more
yeah,
rotation, so I'm gonna like go harder and then release. But so that was
yes, yes,
one, and that's like my behavior there. But the other thing is
yes,
also downshifting to second. I saw myself
correct,
like using
yes,
a lot of second, and I saw you
yes,
using a lot
yes,
of second gear as well. And I
correct,
think
yes,
here I go like through the curb to do the apex. I think you go a little bit wider
yeah,
than I do, and I get like through
yes,
that curb by releasing and downshifting to second. It gives me like the final rotation to just cut it in
yes.
and go straight there.
Yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, nice pick up there. And obviously, something that I should mention, you're definitely using second gear here more than what we've typically almost been used to, I suppose, in one way or another, as of recent times. Um, I guess always relating back to that fact that we always discuss with the second gear, which is you got to make sure that if you're going into a corner in second gear, you're really making sure that when you get up your revs and get on the throttle again, your shifting point is in a straight line, right? And that's what allows you to kind of do a lot of second gear here, is that you can exit a corner, be in a straight line, and shift up from second to third. You know what I mean? That's the really sort of good thing with it. So, there are, a lot of kind of long straights, a lot of long sort of winded periods where you can afford to go down the second and then shift back up the third, because, ultimately it's just, too boggy almost in a way. And I think I did hear you say, I think it's probably turn 5, I think it is at Ledenon, that kind of left-hander just after the kind of right-hander going downhill as you go into the left-hander there. I think instead of using third, I think you started to use second, in some instances, just because you were starting to realize, oh, okay, well, maybe I can get a little bit more out of it in second gear and I can actually, shift up almost in a straight line. But again, those are just the things that you feel and the things that you figure out, the more laps that you do and the more that you kind of think about it as well, it really kind of opens up that window for you in one way or another. But, I think the big thing with here is just, you really have to make sure that you are just sort of modulating the brake and I guess just feeling what the car is almost doing in one way or another. Now, I suppose line-wise, you can see that we are maybe a little bit different, mainly on the entry. You could see that, coming in, I did use, I think, a lot more, as I'm sure you saw, a lot more track than maybe
Yes.
what you have in this particular instance. Now, look, that's just personal preference, in my opinion. Like, for me, the way I look at it is just like, if I can open up the car a lot more coming in the entry, it's just going to open up the radius a little bit more coming into the corner. But what it then actually does is that it pushes me out slightly wider as I come into the hairpin, and that's probably the reason why that maybe I miss the apex just a little bit more than what you do in that particular situation, for example. So again, is this way that you feel right now? Is it feeling consistent? Is it feeling comfortable for you? Are you running into any issues with what you're doing right now, or does it feel relatively pretty decent with how you're going about it in one way or another?
Yeah, I feel pretty decent. So like the first fast lap that I put, I came to compare like our telemetry. I was about like 1.2 seconds from you at that time.
Okay.
My
Yes, sure.
my T1, T2, T3 were actually like faster than yours. And I look at that
Right,
and I said
okay.
like, okay, so this line can actually work. It was not like by a
Yes,
lot, like it
okay.
was faster. So like
Yeah, yeah.
this can work. So if this
Okay.
can work, I won't try to
Yes.
problem solve something that's not problematic. And
Yes, correct.
the good thing of this line is that I hit all the curbs. So when I come
Yes.
to turn one, I
Okay.
hit that curb and you go wide on that one and
Yes.
you open a lot, as you can see in the line.
Yes.
And because I'm like on the
Yes.
middle of the track, not wide, I hit the second
Mm.
curb and then I hit the third curb. So it's easier for me to be
Yeah.
consistent because I have something visual telling me where I should go
Yes, correct.
rather than
No,
trying to be like
definitely.
somewhere on the track.
Yes, no, 100%, 100%. So yeah, no, I think that's really a nice way to go about it, to be honest with you, and it really kind of gives you just a little bit more feeling of consistency, I think, more than anything. But just to look at this again, obviously, where I'm going to go on with this here, but obviously, you can see that I open that up a lot more, opens up that kind of radius a little bit, obviously clip that curb. But then it's kind of the fact of, coming into here, I don't really get the car down to the curb as much as I want to. That could probably mean for me that when I do compare to what you're doing here, in all honesty, like when we look at this right here, that is the difference. That right there is the difference between me hitting the curb and not hitting the curb, is you having that more pressure and me not. I'm not getting down to it as good as you are because I'm not carrying that kind of main bit of braking pressure all the way through, right? So ultimately, in the way, the only reason why I'm going faster here is just because I am, carrying a little bit more entry speed in comparison to yourself. But I think the biggest thing at the end of the day is just we're not, I'm not getting the apex in as much in comparison to yourself, which actually probably gives you time back in comparison to me, and probably actually allows you to catch up ever so slightly. But still, just because of that overall momentum that I'm carrying, it keeps me faster throughout the whole sequence. So it's not even a fact of, I think, where both of us aren't doing anything right or wrong. I don't really think there's anything for you to actually improve on in this corner. It's just genuinely that little bit of edge difference that I kind of have in comparison to yourself. That, again, I probably would be able to maybe feel and be able to do maybe slightly more consistently than yourself, but it's only half a tenth that we're talking about here. You know what I mean? So again, when you're in the slipstream, this corner isn't really going to matter. When you're in qualifying, this corner is going to matter. And if you can feel like you can do it in a way that you're talking about right now, you can complete doing that can do that consistently without issue. by all means, that's
Yeah.
where you kind of want to be. It's just more so when we can't really do a corner consistently and we kind of struggle with that a little bit more. That's where you're going to kind of run into a few issues, and that's realistically the biggest thing. So, yeah, look, I'm happy with this corner, to be honest with you, Alan. I think, yeah, it's a corner that definitely, yeah, like I said at the start, a lot of people tend to have quite a hard time with. And I think, again, it's just for the unfortunate lack of information or lack of kind of skills in the area of how to approach a corner. And again, as we've talked about so much, how to know how to take a corner, I guess, in the correct way. That's really where this corner comes into its own for you, and how you really improve with this one. So I think, yeah, if you can think about it in that manner, I think that's going to really help you out quite nicely. So does that make sense? I mean, it's a very, you've done it very, very well on your end, but I guess, do you see maybe that other side and that other way that potentially you're like, okay, well, if I wanted to match Gianni, I would have to then compensate or compromise a little bit in the area and kind of put maybe a little bit more risk on the table, but maybe just gain that little bit of half a tenth. But you look back at it from the broader sense and you're like, well, is it actually worth it? That's sometimes what it's all about. So does that make sense a little bit?
Yeah, like the way I read this is I have something that I do that's comfortable for me, and I know there's your line as
Yes.
well. So during the race,
Yes.
mostly the race, like things are gonna happen. So seeing
Yes.
your line, I see like how I can be fast using something else,
Yeah.
and I can try that. Like if I see myself in a
Yeah.
situation that I won't be able to use, or to hit the curb, someone is slower, and I wanna go
Yes.
on the outside because that's the inside for the next corner. I'll feel
Yes.
comfortable doing because like now we've discussed it, so I think it helps.
Yes. Yes, no, for sure, for sure. So yeah, that's the big thing, right? Is that, like, especially, as we come to the end of our, program with this car, at least, you're getting to the point now where, okay, you understand what you need to do in this car, you understand how you need to go about it, you know what you need to do as a driver to maximize and get everything out of it. It's just more saying, when you're in that position now where you're looking for, in some particular corners, you're looking for that 3, 4, 5 hundredths of a second in comparison to what I'm doing. You say, okay, I know Gianni can do this consistently if he wanted to, but can I? That's really the biggest thing. Can I? And is it really worth me putting my race at risk, or putting what my qualifying lap at risk to try and gain half a tenth? Or is it better for me to just stick with what I know and stick with the thing that I know very, very well? If we were talking about having a 2 or 3 tenths difference between you and I here, I'd say, okay, well, this needs adjustment, right? We need to work on this one here. But the truth of the matter is, that's not the issue. We're not talking about that big of a scope. If we're looking at someone like 5 and 7 and you see 2 tenths, and you're like, okay, well, yeah, look, we can change that. We need to make maybe an adjustment there. But for something like this, if you feel like you're comfortable in achieving what you're achieving here and doing it comfortably and confidently, then that's all that really matters at the end of the day. For me, in my perspective with everything here, that will be what will help you out the most, right? So, yeah, happy with all of that. Any questions with that area there, or pretty comfortable and pretty happy with what we're talking about there?
No, pretty happy, pretty happy.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. So obviously coming out of there, you'll be moving into four. So obviously four is pretty straightforward. I mean, obviously just a flat out left-hander. The interesting thing to kind of note with this is that you are actually going far, ever so slightly faster than myself through here. So it obviously shows that the exit that you have received from the previous corner, so from T3, from the hairpin, it's giving you a better exit. So obviously, as we can see there, the way that I'm going about it coming into that corner is clearly the time is being gained from myself by carrying the speed in, but you're actually getting the exit and carrying the speed out, right? So I'm kind of ever so slightly having that more faster in, slower out, where you've got that little bit more of a slower in, faster out, right? Which is really, really good. But again, it's that fine margin that we're dealing with there, that, you're doing it in that way and I'm doing it in my sort of way. But at the end of the day, we're pretty much ending it up at the exact same result. But again, it comes down to who's more comfortable, who's more confident in this sort of way of doing it. And it's just a sense of, okay, that's what makes you comfortable, and that's all that really matters. So yeah, I think that's always interesting to look at. Now, 5 and 7. So this is realistically, yeah, where we lose the most time to each other on the racetrack, which is probably a good half of your lap time realistically disappears in this corner, almost in one way or another. Now, what's your thoughts with this one? Because I'm sure that you had probably a lot of different, I guess, ways to take this corner. I'm sure you tried a lot of different variations of this sort of section. So what's your thoughts and feelings with this one here? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, so this one, like the first time I went around and I compared times, like was half of the difference we had. It was almost like 6 tenths.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, I don't even know how I was approaching before, to be honest. And then I
Okay. Yeah.
realized, I saw like the video. I saw the difference when I saw the video. Like even before I saw the
Mhm.
telemetry, I don't think I analyzed the telemetry for this one. It was just like watching the
Yeah.
video, and like how you
Sure.
go like
Sure.
very. I think I was going super hard on the brake, slowing down a lot, and then trying
Yeah.
to like go on the
Yeah.
gas, going narrow.
Yeah.
You go super wide on the exit, and then you cut it
Yeah.
in. And I was trying to have like a
Yeah.
narrow line there. So I've been trying
Yeah.
to like get closer to that line, and I think I've improved
Yeah.
a lot. And I also think like in other laps that were my fastest lap, I did better this
Yeah.
one. So on
Okay.
this one, I
Sure.
had to go like a little bit harder on the brakes because I
Mhm.
think I used a little bit more of the gas than I should have, and
Mhm.
that ended up like slowing me down before I cut in the last apex there.
Yeah.
But I think like if I fix that, if I don't increase the speed as much during the corner, I'm gonna be able to use less brake and have a better like
Mhm.
exit speed from the last corner.
Mhm. No, for sure. For sure. So I think the big one here is this is probably one of the first sections where you're making use of maybe more of the track than you would rather think of, almost in a way. So, as I'm sure you probably noticed, obviously for myself, I'm using a fair chunk of the kind of exit curb, or I guess the almost the entry curb coming into here, right? So,
Yeah.
I'm carrying enough throttle, basically, or enough brake on the kind of exit, and then also allowing myself to pick up the throttle. I'm artificially making myself push the car out wide to basically hop over this curb. Now, for me, the way that I kind of look at it is that this curb and these curbs, almost in a way, at this circuit, are a little bit of a point of rotation, almost in a way, for the car, this BMW in particular, just because we know that the springs and the suspension is so soft in this car that it obviously has a little bit of a little bit more reaction than what you would probably find in a GT4 or a GT3 car, for example. It's a lot more sensitive to kind of, ground level adjustments almost in a way. So if you have a little bit of a vibrating curb or a steppy curb where it's got a little bit of leeway off the edge of it, that it's got a little bit of a gap, then you're probably going to find that when the car hops over it, it's going to give the car some unsettlement almost in a way. So purposely what I try to do through here, as you'll probably see through the entry of the next corner as well, I actually do position the car a lot of a way over the curb so that when I actually turn in and go to get into the corner, the car actually creates a little bit of like an oversteer almost moment, which actually kind of promotes turn for me in one way or another. So that's the only reason why I'm doing it. If I didn't want that to happen, I would be keeping the car to the left-hand side of the curb and just driving into the corner. Whereas this kind of gives me a feeling of when I initially turn, it unsettles the car, and that unsettlement of the car actually gives me the rotation that I'm looking for. So you can kind of see that when obviously I come into this corner and obviously I jump back onto the brakes to trail into the apex, you can kind of see that as I turn over the curb right here, see how it just gives me that it gives me that little bit of a jolt,
Yep.
like a little bit of a jolt right there. It just kind of helps me to turn the nose into the corner. Whereas if you're kind of sitting to the left of the curb a little bit, you just feel like you're having to trail in, turn in, turn in, turn in, turn in, and there's no kind of artificial impact that's happening on the car to get it to actually rotate. So I think the big thing is were you using that entry curb at all? Was that a position that you ever allowed yourself to get out to, or were you trying to keep it maybe more so to the left-hand side of the curb in majority situations?
Yeah. After I saw your video, like the replay from what
Mm.
you're doing, I started trying
Yeah.
to use more of the outside. I was going super
Yeah.
narrow
Yeah.
before, and now
Yeah.
I'm just like as you were speaking, I was watching what I did, and I'm like I think I'm
Mm.
half a car to the left side, so I can still
Yeah.
use
Yeah.
more of that.
Yeah.
But interesting
Yeah.
enough, maybe like I'm carrying less speed on the apex, but interesting
Yeah.
enough, I am like maybe because I'm slower, I'm still able to do like the
Yeah.
same line as you do through that apex
Yes.
and go on the gas like
Yes.
super early. So I hit the gas before I
Yes.
get close there, which helps me carry more speed on the exit.
Yes. 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 No, for sure. So I think what that is literally coming from is just that extra little bit of pressure that you have in comparison to me. So you can
Yeah.
obviously see your peak there is 25 and my peak is 18. So we have 7% difference between your peak and my peak. So that basically just meaning even though you've broken at the exact same point as me, you've broken slightly harder than me, which means you can get on the power earlier and more aggressively than me. But ultimately it also means that you're probably going to end up a lot more shallow than I am because you have just washed off extra speed than I have in comparison, you know. So when we actually look at the speed differential, you can see right here, yeah, you're about 5 kilometers an hour slower, right? 5.6 kilometers an hour slower. So we know how sensitive 5 kilometers an hour is in this car. That's the difference between you feeling like the car wants to wash out wider, or that's the difference between you feeling like you want to, you know, yeah, well, feeling like you can just kind of get the car to bite and you can just drive out of the corner without issue, you know. So if your idea is to naturally try and let the car drift out to the outside without having to kind of almost, in a way, in quotations, artificially get it out there through kind of your own inputs, if you just want to naturally let the car float out that wide, you've got to make sure that you bring back the initial pressure and actually let the car flow more through the corner. You shouldn't also feel like you have the ability to get back to full throttle that easily coming out of the left-hander as well. You want to feel like it's a little bit more of like a progressive squeeze up to kind of 100%, which is a little bit different to what we're normally used to. But again, it's just more so the way that this corner is kind of designed. You don't want to be able to get back to full throttle very aggressively, because otherwise it just means that you've actually almost slowed the car up more than what you've needed to at this corner. If you feel very progressive on throttle, you're going to find that naturally, as we know, the more progressive you be sometimes, it actually naturally just lets the car float out a little bit more. And you find that then it will put you to where you be. Because do you feel like right now for yourself, to get out to that exit curb in majority of cases, or more times than not, you're having to actually make an effort to get the car out there? It's not just ending up out there because of your line. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I think just give it a go. So I think, you know, like we said, obviously the braking is about 7% difference. So obviously 25 to 18 is really the difference. Even if you're braking at somewhere around the 20, you know, the 20% mark, that will just even help you out more. But the great thing is that structurally wise, it's very, very good here. You know, you're doing everything very, very well structurally wise, which is of course the most important thing. It's just a little bit of the application side of things that you could, you know, maybe work on just a little bit there, and it will probably give you a nice beneficiary to what you're trying to do, you know. And I think if you're able to do that, then I think that'll be really, really good, and you'll get a great result from what you're trying to do there, right? So yeah, obviously coming through then the left-hander, like we kind of said, obviously it's, you know, before, it's another one of those kind of, you know, second gear, obviously corners almost in a way. So, you know, I did try in between second and third. I just found second gear was way better. Just gave me more drive. You would think the third would maybe not be too bad, but it was just a little bit too boggy for how much speed we were trying to wash off. So the second gear just, yeah, felt much better. But yeah, ultimately, man, again, you know, it's crazy how quickly the time can fall away and how quickly we can, you know, gain and lose the time. But again, when we always think about these lap time differentials in terms of, you know, little sector splits, we're talking about the difference between half a tenth of a second and 2/10 of a second, which, you know, again, in racing, we make it sound like it's so big, but when you actually physically think about how small that amount of time, you can't even see 2/10 of a second with the human eye. It is that quick almost in a way, you know. The click of the finger is basically a second, you know. It's not even physically representable almost in a way. So yeah, it's such a small amount of time, but just genuinely that little bit of difference between braking a little bit harder, a little bit softer, letting the car wash out a little bit wider, a little bit shallower, you know, all those little things are just adding up to the ever so slight amount of time difference. So yeah, try and just have a little bit more of a focus on letting the car wash out a little bit more, and if you can try and be, I suppose, a little bit more, you know, wary of just letting the car wash out to where you need to be, then I think that'll be, you know, typically quite good in the matter of what you're trying to do. So yeah, look, other than that, man, I think all really good, all very happy there. So just a couple of little adjustments, and I think that will typically give you the result that you're looking for there. So yeah, any questions? Any questions with any of that, or all pretty straightforward
No,
what
I
we're
think
looking at there?
I think like you hit the things that I was thinking before.
Yeah.
Not like I think you confirmed my theory that I had before, like on using more track, and it was good to see you showing the replay again, because I have
Yeah. Yeah.
my replay open on my screen, and I was
Yeah. Sure.
comparing, and like I thought
Yeah.
I was going wide, like enough, but
Yeah.
now I see like there's more that I can
Yeah.
use and just like carry more speed
Sure.
throughout it.
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%, 100%. So yeah, it's always an interesting one because it's just kind of like there's so much just little differences, or I guess so many little differences that you can have between what I'm doing and what you're doing. But again, it can be there or thereabouts the same, but there's still a little bit of just that difference. They're like, okay, but where is it? Why is it happening? And it's just generally all starts, as we know so well in our journey so far. We all know it always starts out with whatever you do right there. That's realistically where everything either goes really well for you, or you either lose ever so slight bit of time. That's all it comes down to. Because the problem is, you come in here, you brake harder, as we know, then you'll trail off, you'll get on the power earlier, more aggressively, then because you do that, you'll be going faster, you'll brake harder, you wash off the speed again, you pick up the power, and then you can just see you're just going to be, it's that gain versus loss, right? You don't gain enough back to be able to match me up. You know, it's just those little bit of lingering bits of time that are kind of sitting there that you've lost that you never unfortunately gain back because of what you do, you know? So yeah, that's always the big thing with it. But yeah, again, look, you're on the right track. You got the right idea. It's just yeah, something to keep in mind and consider. And yeah, I think if you can do that, then that'll help you out quite nicely. So yeah, does that clear up some of your thoughts in your mind with that one? Like you said, you're feeling a bit more comfortable with taking that one slightly differently, or attempting to try and take it differently now, I suppose.
Yeah. I think I can do this. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. So all good there. Turn 8. I mean, not really much to say with this one here. It's honestly a lot harder than sometimes you consider it to be. It's always just really tough to know, like, well, for me at least, to know what gear is better to take through this one. And as you can see, you are taking third there. I was in between the two. I didn't really know whether it was better to take second or third gear through here, because I have tried the two. And in all honesty, like I probably would stick with the third, like you're doing potentially in a way, because you can obviously see that in the end with the straight, you actually do go slightly faster in the straight, and I think that's generally just by having that little bit of extra. Sort of momentum with the third gear, rather than having to go down the second like me, maybe get a little bit more engine braking, then obviously get back on the power and have to shift up again. I think you probably just save yourself some time. So, did you try between the two? Did you attempt second and third, and just found third was better for you through there as well?
Yeah, I did. Like what happened to me on this
Yep.
one is we go like as soon as we get straight, we're on the
Yeah.
curb on the outside. We go on the brakes, right?
Mhm.
And I think maybe that's because like I'm holding the pressure, pressure squeeze a little bit, and as I release, I get a lot of rotation of the car. So as I get rotation, I kind of use the throttle to help me not oversteer, and that's just
Yeah.
like help me get glued to the floor and get a very good exit. So I felt like in third I felt more under controlling the car. Whenever I went to
Yeah.
second, I felt like I was over slowing down the car. So that was kind of
Yeah.
my
Sure.
comfort zone there.
Mhm. No, absolutely. So yeah, no, I think look, you're doing that all perfectly. I mean, obviously, you are coming out of the kind of that previous corner a little bit tighter, so it means that you do have maybe a little bit more speed than me right at the top there, which is good to see. I do sometimes find it hard to find really good traction coming out of that kind of long right-hander here. So coming out of here, like
Oh
to
yeah.
try and run it tight can be quite tough. I just kind of let the car float out to the exit almost as much as I can, and then obviously turning in from the point. Um, but I think the biggest thing is you felt nice and comfortable and confident to kind of keep the car super tight there, which was great from yourself. But it obviously meant that you had to brake a little bit harder. So ultimately we matched each other up through there, which was great. And honestly, in my opinion, I'd probably just stick with the third gear, to be honest. Like we kind of said, you are getting rotation from using that kind of curb on the entry, almost in a way a little bit. So as you go and then turn in, it's it typically is going to be pretty pretty easy to oversteer, or pretty easy to slide the car if you're trying to use second in my sort of situation. So look, I'm happy for you to keep third. Seems like it works better in a straight line as well. So I'll have to, if I do drive this track again here, I would have to use third at this corner as well, because I think that would typically be, the better choice in this situation. So other than that, all really good. 9 and 10. So as you come off the back straight there, I think the big thing with this one here is that, like, again, there's a few different lines that you can kind of go about taking with this corner, particularly I think with the exit line, almost in a way. Um, in my opinion, I probably did find myself maybe inducing a little bit of understeer as I got to the latter part of the kind of trail zone. which kind of did cause me to use up more of the circuit than maybe I would have really wanted to. But at the end of the day, like it gets you to where you need to be, and you know you have the ability to use these extra parts of the circuit if you kind of really need to. So in my opinion, I think the way you've done it is actually probably better than mine. Mine was probably maybe not completely perfect, but yeah, did you definitely find that? Yeah, if you could get the nose rotated, if you could get it turned in, if you could get the nose kind of biting, and really being able to power out the corner, that was working better for you. Did you run into any situations where you were kind of washing out wide like I did, and you kind of felt like, oh, okay, this didn't really feel too good in comparison to what I was doing, or?
Yeah, so I was doing my line first, then I saw your. I tried
Yeah.
your line a couple times,
Yeah.
and then I went back to my line and I was trying to like see what I felt more comfortable. I think again,
Okay.
like having aiming at the like clipping the curb on the inside helps me have like a
Yeah.
visual guide, and like I
Yeah.
did well or I did bad like from corner to corner, and I was being pretty
Mm.
consistent. I think the challenge with this corner is not quite like the corner itself. Is we carry a lot of speed on the exit, and then
Yeah.
as
Sure.
we as you just mentioned the previous like on the second to previous corner, they're kind of
Mm-mm.
dancing with the car to get it where it should be.
Yes.
I think that was a
Correct.
challenge. And when I
Yes.
used your line,
Yeah.
sometimes I felt was like a little bit easier to
Yeah.
get like the car where it should be. Versus like when I use
Yes.
my
Okay.
line, sometimes I had to just bring it to the outside so I could bring to the inside like more stable, or
Sure.
just
Yeah.
use less of the entry on the following corner. But like whenever I use
Yes.
less of the entry in the following corner, I'm letting like I'm losing some speed
You
there and
compromise.
some yeah some compromise time there.
Yeah, okay, for sure. So, like, I think again, yeah, like you did mention with those with that kind of long left-hander, right? The thing is with the way that I'm doing the line is I'm not thinking about where I'm trying to end the car up, right? The car's just naturally ending up there by the way I've gone and approached and done the corner almost in a way. Now, for me to get the car out to that point and to get it to where it ended up almost in a way, it naturally did understeer a little bit, right? That's the way that I kind of got to look at it and say, okay, yeah, look, I did maybe understeer a little bit, but it was the natural understeer that did end me up outright to that exit sort of curb. Now, you are right. I do find through here, if you try to put yourself in a position where you have a little bit more of kind of a tighter, more shallow exit line, you do definitely compromise, and you're having to compensate for that in coming into the next corner almost in a way. So you feel like you can't open up the next corner as much as you would really want to unless you kind of crack the throttle and kind of compromise a little bit through the kink to then be in a better position coming into the sort of left-hander there. Um, but I think again the gain versus loss between the both of us is quite small. It's just more so a case of, as we talked about, and I guess the big sort of takeaway from today is doing what you feel is comfortable, and that's what's going to be the really kind of big thing for us over the last few weeks of this season in this car is just you know being close to one another, but just generally doing what you feel is more comfortable. Because I feel like as we especially make that next step up and try to jump into cars that are a little bit more a little bit more sensitive and kind of, they require you to hustle it maybe a little bit more, being able to drive a car to what you feel comfortable and how to especially get that comfortability out in a racing situation as well and feel precise and, feel confident to achieve that same thing every single time. That's where you're going to become a really good driver. And that's what it all really comes down to. You're not going to be absolutely perfect every time, nor am I. There's definitely times when, you can see here today, maybe I didn't absolutely perfect the corner as well, and that's just the thing. I wish I could be an alien. I think I wish we could all be an alien, but I have my moments where corners aren't exactly perfect either. But again, they still get the lap time out of it, but I know why I'm doing something, and as we always have talked about, knowing the hows and the whys for everything that you do, knowing why you're doing it and how you're obviously doing it, if you can kind of take that away from every single corner and say, you know what, I have a good idea of why I'm doing this, but also I have a good idea of how I'm achieving this as well. That's all that really matters. And those are those kind of answers that then allow you to go and do it in a race. Like for example, here at Ledenon, you've worked on things, you've understood things a little bit better, and now you're going out there and you're getting decent results. But even when you do get flustered, you do kind of maybe have a moment where you drop a few positions. That's what also helps you to stay composed, stay grounded, and allows you to really, maximize corners and still get the most out of the car in the sense that you need to. That's what still allows that to happen. So, yeah, it's a very interesting way of approach, and I think it's one that will carry with you, through your whole sort of journey, and it's what gets you to a level where you feel, quite comfortable and quite confident. Is just that that what you're doing works, and that you can do it, and it works for you, and that's all that really matters, is just finding something that works well for you. So yeah, look, you can try and use my line if you were wanting to there, and see if it kind of affects you or helps you or negatively affects you, whatever it might do. But at the end of the day, we're there or thereabouts, ending up at the exact same spot. It's just more so the case of whether it's going to affect you coming into here into this turn 11 and 12, because obviously you can see, like you kind of said, starting out with, you're obviously a lot more tighter than I am coming into the entry, because obviously your line here, you're a lot more shallow, and then because of your shallowness there, it means that you wash out wider here. So is that kind of what you were explaining just to me there? Just you felt like it would put you out of position a little bit depending on the line that you got through that turn 10 sequence?
Yeah, yeah. And just to make sure, like, are you showing the VRS or still showing the sim screen?
I'm on this stream still. Oh yeah, yeah. Let
Okay,
me
okay,
change
okay.
back to
Just
this
wait.
one. Perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
just like we say, coming through here, just as you can see that shallowness, right? It pops you obviously out
exactly.
wide to there, right? So is that what you kind of felt like was the kind of, I guess, the most post effect of doing that previous corner in the way that you were?
Yeah, yeah. I think like as you were speaking, I was thinking here, and I was watching my replay here as well,
Mm,
and
mm.
I'm not using the exit as much as I can, and I think if I
Yeah,
just allow
sure.
the car to go more to the exit, that might cost me a
Yeah,
little bit of time, because now that's the longer line, but at the same time it's
yeah,
gonna set me up for a much better entry on the next one. So I'm gonna try that.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, look, at the end of the day, like we're both really close to one another. To be honest with you here, like we're very, very close to one another. In terms of lap time through 9 and 10, I mean we're a hundredth of a second off of each other, so we're very close. But the fact of the matter is like how much is it then going and affecting you coming into this next corner? You know what
Yeah,
I mean? That's the problem that we're dealing with here. Because obviously, yeah, the wider that you can come into here, obviously the more radius you can turn, obviously the more speed you're going to be able to carry through the apex. As you can obviously see, a couple of kilometers an hour back on my hand, and then of course the exit, yeah, I'm really going to benefit from as well. And you can also actually see that you did have to go down to second gear coming into here as well, whereas I was able to keep it in third,
yeah,
right? So your point of turn was actually too tight for you to be able to carry third through here, because you probably just would have felt like it would have been too tight for you almost in a way. So maybe just, yeah, try and see if you can get that previous corner 9 and 10 a little bit wider, so that you can be a little bit tighter coming out of the exit again, just to show you in this instance here. You can see that obviously, yeah, because I widen it out here, it just opens up my entry so much coming into here, and I can be right on the right hand side, perfectly lined up to then turn in for the left and be exactly where I kind of need
yeah,
to be. So I think it just gives me more opportunity to maximize things a little bit more, and just gives me a chance to be able to, again, just carry a little bit more momentum through the sequence, which is the important part about it all. So, yeah, obviously that's all okay. And then look, the left-hander, the second left-hander into 12, I don't think there's really much to it, to be honest with you. It's just a bit of a quick little peek and a trail off, which we know how to do very well, so that's fine. But yeah, I think the main focus is that turn 11. Try and see if you can kind of compensate a bit in 10, and try to maybe just let it wash out a little bit more to then, gain a bit more back through 11 and, well, mainly through 11. Because seemingly that seems to be a little bit of where time is going away for you, unfortunately, is genuinely just through that 11. And then it just compromises you into 12, and you kind of just already coming slower into there. So it just, how it is, it's just that knock-on effect. So yeah, I mean, were there times where you definitely felt like you were able to open up the entry into 11 and it felt quite good for you, or?
yeah. I think like the very few times that I was able to open up more like the entry, I could carry like
Yeah.
third gear and just be
Okay.
faster. The problem of going so narrow is that I need to go to second gear to get like an extra rotation. Otherwise,
Yes,
it's
yes.
gonna cost me more time, because now I have to wait more to go on the gas, to not go wide and get an off track on the exit. And I'm looking here, like if
Yeah.
you see, the entire time loss is because of that. Because like after we
Yeah.
go like
Yeah.
around that first corner, when I get into the second exit, we get to the same
Yeah.
speed, and I can like catch
It
up to
stays the
you,
same.
and I don't lose any more
Yeah.
time there.
Yeah, yeah, correct. So it's all through that one
This
right
part,
there,
yeah.
basically. So, yeah, so turn 11. So yeah, give it a go. See how you feel. Yeah, that'll be interesting to kind of see for you what you're trying to do there. But yeah, I think just something to sit there and sort of consider about. So yeah, other than that, I think that's yeah, all completely okay. So no worries there. But just something to think about. And again, I think it's just one of those circuits where yeah, corners do definitely get compounded a little bit. But you just got to try and say, okay, well, how can I maximize that to the best of my ability? Now, turn 13. So in all honesty, you did go faster here, almost in a way. Now, I guess the big thing with this one is almost in a way of, okay, well, how much do we gain through here, but then how much do we also lose through here as well? Because the thing we got to kind of keep in mind is that the following corner coming up is just a fast left-hand kink, right? So you're able to gain 0.068 coming into 13, but then you lose 0.088 coming into 14, right? So what I can kind of see is that typically, yeah, you're doing a bit more of a brake trace where you're squeezing into a little bit more, right? So typically what you're doing is you're squeezing into it, carrying the speed into the corner, and then you're getting up to your peak pressure, and then you're releasing, right? So you're doing a little bit more of like a negative sort of trace, almost in a way, a bit of a negative curve. So instead of peaking at the start, you're peaking at the end. Now I see where you're kind of coming from with it. You're trying to get the speed washed off just as you're about to turn in and to get it to kind of rotate right at the apex there. So I see the process or the thought process behind what you're trying to do. But I think the biggest thing more so in a case of like, what does it do for you when you kind of obviously get that speed washed off? And what I probably feel like happens more so than not is that when you kind of get to that kind of corner, when you kind of get that little bit extra squeeze as you come into the back half of the corner, you get to here and you feel like that car just really rotates quite nicely and it actually tightens up a little bit too much. But the problem is that because it tightens up too much, you actually find yourself being in a position where you actually rotate it maybe a little bit too much and you've got to put too much scrub in to get the thing to actually turn, which kind of almost in a way means that when you're kind of dealing with that in one way or another, you're causing yourself to be obviously too shallow, which then I think what it actually does is it makes you lose the speed coming out of the corner and you aren't able to kind of carry that momentum all the way out to the exit, right? Because do you feel like you're ever getting out this wide? Do you feel like you're opening up the corner this wide in cases, or is it more shallow for you usually?
No, it's definitely more shallow. Let me take a look here.
Yeah,
I
okay.
think. Let me see. This is a good exit. We're going to brakes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I definitely
because
hit my
yeah,
left. My left
wheels initially.
wheels go all the way like to almost to the outside of the curb, like to the edge of the curb,
Okay.
but I don't go to
Yeah.
the green part.
Right. Okay. Sure. So through the telemetry here, obviously you can see that yeah, like initially we get out that wide, but it seems like you make I don't know, you make a little bit more of an effort, I think, to try and bring it back to the right, a lot quickly. And is that something that you're trying to do? Are you actively trying to like get the car back to the right hand side as quickly as you can? Is that something that you're trying to do, or is that just
Yeah.
basically maybe what
So
the car's
this is
feeling
one thing
more?
that I kind of started doing with the formulas. I bring to the right
Yeah.
and I get my left wheels on the curb because that's not an off track,
Uh,
and then I try to clip the inside of the to be like completely flat, and I try to clip the inside of the curb of the next corner, and that sets me up very well for the final corner. And I'm watching my
okay.
replay here. I didn't do that quite nicely. I was late on the turn in, but whenever I do like the
Yeah.
turn in at the right time, I put
Yeah.
my left wheels on the dirt on the inside, and that helps me drag to the inside and be very close to the line as I'm prepping to the
Right.
last
Okay.
corner.
Yeah, yeah, okay, for sure. So we just got to kind of think about it in a sense of because we are coming out of these corners so slowly, every little bit of extra steering angle that you're putting in or every other like little direction change you're making, you're scrubbing, right?
Hmm.
Scrubbing equals time lost. And when we are dealing with such little bits of time difference in terms of when we're talking about 0.08 of a second or 0.07 of a second, whatever it might be, right? Again, think about how quick that lap time is or how quick that amount of time is in real time, right? I can't even, there's no way that I can explain 1/10 of a second to you. It is that quick. Like 1 second goes by in one. It's point 0.9 quicker than that, almost in a way. Like a word that I say it doesn't even show that. It's kind of so fast that I can't even physically represent it to you. So when you think about it in a car sense, and when you're having a little bit more scrub, a little bit more turning, a little bit more rotation, all the little things like that, you're putting yourself in a position where you're going to open yourself up to issues like this almost in a way where you're going to lose maybe a little bit more time or you're going to be, gaining a little bit more time, whatever it might be. So just maybe try and like I said, coming into 13, at the end of the day, you are going faster than me through there. That's the realistic thing. But you can see that the way that we're both going about, I guess, a trace point of view, in terms of, you're obviously, getting the peak at the end, I'm getting the peak at the start. It kind of just is making you kind of, wash more for the end, whereas I'm washing more at the start. And it just kind of means that my rotation happens a little bit more, naturally, whereas you're kind of forcing the car to rotate more as you get down to the apex. So I think there's just a little bit of a difference in terms of the car balance that's promoting maybe a little bit of a difference. But look, just maybe give it a go, and just as well think about trying just to keep the car more to the left-hand side. Don't be in such a rush maybe to get the car back over to the right, because you'd be surprised that it doesn't really give you that much of a beneficiary to maybe what you're thinking it does, almost, in a way. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, just think about that. But otherwise, I think all really, really good. So does that make sense? Just in a way, that slight different approach. Does that make sense to you there?
Yeah, it's like something to
Yep.
definitely try. Yeah.
Yeah, just something small, so nothing major, nothing to really worry about. And again, look, at the end of the day, if you're comfortable and happy with the way you're doing it there, by all means, completely fine. It's just more so a case of if you wanted to find just a little bit of that time, you could do it ever so slightly differently. Now, the final corner, again, it's kind of a bit of a similar situation. So obviously you can see that you gain coming into the corner and through the corner, but you lose coming out of the corner almost in a way. So you can see all you really did was just, obviously, by having that much wider line, you were then able to cut it back to the left a lot more coming through 14. And then obviously coming into 15, you were a lot more positioned, which probably allowed you to brake ever so slightly later because you were in more of a straight line. Whereas you can see for me, I'm a lot more on an angle, right? So I'm having to kind of brake a little bit earlier to start to get the car curved into the left and then do my whole sort of pressure sequence almost in a way. And that's really the big sort of difference. So you can see that, that's the main area that's changing. But of course, because of that, it's going to mean that you're ultimately braking later. So you're probably going to have to brake a little bit harder than I am. It does obviously mean because you brake later, you get on the power later. You do get the full throttle at the same time. But when we think about, actual exit rhythm, it just means that because I'm getting on the power slightly earlier, I am carrying more exit momentum at the end of the day. And that's obviously going to linger all the way down to the start-finish line, where then I gain back 0.06 of a second, right? And that's all it really comes down to, in all honesty. It's just that difference between, as we always know, braking a little bit earlier, braking a little bit later, braking a little bit harder, braking a little bit softer, and just the kind of gain versus loss, the fast in, slow out, the slow in, fast out, the little things like that. And whether it's actually the difference between, braking earlier, braking later, braking harder, braking softer. That's all it is, right? So I think, in all honesty, there, it's kind of very similar to the previous corner we just dealt with, where you kind of were faster coming in as you were the same here. But the difference is that in both of the sequences, I'm faster coming out, because I've kind of maybe compensated a little bit more coming into the corner to then obviously gain coming out of the corner, whereas you've probably really tried to hustle the car into the corners, and then obviously you compensate coming out of the corner, right? So yeah, I mean, you're positioning it really, really well, which is fantastic. It's just when we're talking about those very little bits of time, unfortunately, that's where you're losing the time in comparison to me, and that's all it really is. But again, like we said right at the very beginning of today, is it something that's worth a change? It could be, for sure. Is it one that's going to make a drastic difference? Absolutely not. And if this is the way that you feel more comfortable in doing so, by all means, keep it in that sort of way. But if you're ever looking for that kind of little bit of a difference, that you're like, okay, if I ever wanted to gain a little bit more, that's where it could be, then it's just something to keep in the back of your mind, right? And that's all you really got to sort of think about. So does that sort of concept make sense to you? And I think you're starting to get a little bit more comfortable with just sort of saying, you know what, like, I am very, very close here, but I'd rather just be a little bit away but feel more comfortable in doing that thing repetitively and consistently. Is that what you kind of feel like for yourself is a little bit more sort of comforting and a little bit more easy for you to achieve as well?
Yeah, like we talked a few sessions ago that, like, whenever you go about these laps, it's not like the absolutely fastest you can go around it.
Yeah.
It's the fastest
Yeah.
and most consistent way you can go around it. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand also, like, where the gap in terms of how much more you can control the car versus what I can do. And when I find my
Sure.
limit, like, maybe I think it's okay to lose like half a tenth right here and make sure I'm not like spinning on the outside or on the exit of the corner. But also, like,
Yeah.
everything we talked here, I think I should be able to do. So it's hard to put
Yeah.
everything in a lap, but at least like the
Yeah.
concepts and the discussions and like the fast in, slow out versus like slow in, fast out, those things that we've
Yeah.
been talking. I think that's
Yeah.
what I'm gonna try to put together now, like in a fast lap.
Yep. Yep, no, for sure. So yeah, no, I think really good week, Alan. I think the racing here is going to be quite great for you. I think you have quite a decent time with this circuit. You know, if you can find just that little bit more in, I guess, those more sort of major sections, you know, you'll easily be able to get your lap time down to at least 2 or 3 tenths away, still even doing with what you're doing here, which I think again, the consistency of being able to repeat a time like that is going to help you out with you know, with leaps and bounds almost in a way. So yeah, I think that'll be really handy. So yeah, man. No, look, I think really good here today. I'm really happy. I'm glad that we're kind of, you know, getting to that point now where, you know, structurally we're doing exactly everything we need to do. You know what you need to do. You know how to do it. It's just more so the case of we're looking at like, okay, well, how can we maybe have a little bit of a different line? How can we apply things slightly different? How we can maybe do this to get a bit of a different result, or do the same thing to get the same result? What that kind of occurrence obviously either helps or doesn't help. And I think if you can, yeah, keep those things up, then I think that'll be really good. So, yeah, man, look, very happy. Obviously, yeah, we'll walk away and see how you kind of go with Ledenon this week as well. See how you go here for next week as well. And then, yeah, we'll catch up next week, and yeah, we'll see what we're looking at.
Yeah, I know you have another one right now, so I won't hold you for longer.
Yeah, of
I
course.
just got like a
No, of course.
question on the chat. So Kevin
Yes,
was
absolutely. Yes.
asking how
Yes.
much in advance do you have, like, or do they have to book you? Like, how how's your
Um,
schedule?
No, look, it's certainly quite busy. You know, obviously, I like to keep everything quite scheduled because obviously there's a lot, as you know, there's a lot of preparation that goes into this stuff. Obviously, I need to do laps, need to kind of prepare myself and give you a lap for reference. So yeah, if you can, you know, at least probably 2 or 3 days prior to when you would want to do a lesson, that would probably be the most ideal. And yeah, of course, we can try and find a time. I mean, depending on where in the world you are, obviously we make it work very well, Alan. Your evenings is my
Yeah,
mornings, and vice versa. So yeah, wherever you are in the world, can definitely make it happen. So yeah, please feel free to reach out, and I'm sure we can figure out a time. But yeah, no, more than happy to help in whatever way necessary.
absolutely. Thanks. I appreciate
Perfect.
your answer, and I'll
You're
let you go
welcome,
to the
Alan.
next one because you're already late.
Y-
Thank you very much,
yes,
sir.
no, all good. I hope you have a lovely night and enjoy the stream. And yeah, any questions, you just let me know.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Perfect, bro. Take it easy, man. See
Take it
you
easy.
soon.
Bye.
Thanks, bro. Bye.
Yeah, so Gianni's in Australia, so like he's kind of the opposite time zone, and yeah, like he's also in our Discord community, so he's also here. You can just mention like Gianni. He's right here. I don't know if you can see, but you can just like reach out to him directly if you want. There is the website. Um, I don't make any commission. I really like Gianni. Like I've tried. He's my third coach that I've tried. The other two are also like super high rating. Like one is a world champion. They're very good. They're very good like drivers. But I feel like coaching has one extra step, and you gotta get to like who you're talking to's level. And sometimes for those guys who are very good, it's hard to think like a 1.5k, a 2k guy, right? Jen is a 10.3, 10.5k. I don't know, like it's something crazy like that. So and he's like a real life like Formula driver. So he's very experienced, very talented. And when we talked offline before the first session, I told him like my expectations, how my brain works, and like I cannot have 15 things to work on. It has to be like one by one. And we've talked about a bunch of things tonight, but we've been building to get there. So I think we've had maybe like 15 sessions so far. So it's been like a career together, a journey together. But in the very beginning, he was like one thing at a time, one thing at a time, and that's what actually helped me improve. You are already quite fast, so definitely you guys are going to be talking about like very like much more subtle details. But I'm pretty sure, like I'm pretty confident he'll be able to go and get like into your mind and see like how you think, how you approach, and give his perspective. One thing that I like as well, he never puts himself as someone who owns the truth. That's like his approach, his opinion, how he goes around it. Some people might be faster, some people might be slower, but he's confident on the things he does, and he can compare to what you're doing and let you know like what's working, what's not working. And you saw today like he was humble enough to say, "Yeah, you hear like your approach here is better than mine probably. So if I go around here again, I'll give it a try like the way you're doing." And other times like he's gonna say like you're faster here, but that's still the wrong approach. Like it looks good, but the result, that overall result is not good. The behavior is not good, or losing time on the next one. So you think it's good, but it's not good. So I like that a lot. I like that a lot, to be honest. So yeah, let's go. We have a couple of things to work on, and I think it's mostly turns 5 through 7, using more the outside, and then turn 8, maybe 9, which is using more the outside as well to better set up ourselves for the following corner. So I'm gonna show the out lap we're talking about. On this one, he like opens up more here, like goes on the brake, and then like he clips here, gets straight again. And here, he was like this, like he didn't quite clip the curb. And I was slightly faster here because I really go like, I really use the dirt here. And now I'm gonna spin just because I'm telling and showing you guys. But I use a lot of the dirt there. That helps with the car like staying, maybe not every single time because you saw it didn't happen now. But that's what I do there. And he goes a little bit more on the outside. Here's the 18% braking zone. And here's one of the things that I have to do, like work on getting the car like this. Then brake here, bring to second, go on the gas sooner. Then kind of fight the car here to get it like where we want it to get at, which is here. Get on the brakes. This is the one he did in second and I did in third. That he said like maybe my line is actually better or my approach is better. And the next one is the one that I have to use more of the exit. And it's because it's gonna like set us up better for the next one. Like gotta be like this. Thinking going third, so I missed the apex here. So gotta go early on the release and turn in. But those are the two corners I have to work on. This one here is the one we were discussing last. But I also think like because the delta is not so big now, maybe I'll focus on this like at a later time. Yeah, I got an off track. He's probably using way more of the exit here as well. So yeah, pretty much it. Let's get an active reset point. Let's try to post a few fast laps here. See if we can improve our time. Oh yeah, this happens sometimes. Gotta make sure the car rotates. Not as fast as I wanted it to be. Oh, got an off track. Let's... Oops! I just put an active reset. Can I save it? No, I cannot save it. Can I try to save turning? No. I'll try one more, otherwise we reset the car to the pit lane. No, I clicked the wrong button. Alright, it's fine. Sorry for like crashing the car 1500 times here. I was trying to see if I could save that because I was trying to get the active reset. And I actually set a new active reset. Sometimes I do this. So this corner he goes more like this. And then this corner he goes more on the outside here like this. I cannot, like, the problem of cutting in that corner too early is that you're gonna go on the outside in the following one. Yes, I have to activate here the voice to speech. Hold on. Yes, that's how Mohammed likes racing. One day I'm gonna interview the guy. I promise you guys. Like, this is what I have to do here. So I can have this. Yeah, I don't like it. I'll continue using my line for now. I'll try to carry more speed with my line. I think it's the best solution. So let's get a no Mohammed.
That was your fastest lap of the session.
Oh really? 2.5? That's stupid slow. That was an out lap though, wasn't it? I think I went too late on the brakes here. Still able to keep the car in, so we'll continue, but that's not going to be the fastest possible lap. Not good. But at least we're trying something different there. That is gonna eventually gain us some time over slowing down. Should have gone down to second because I over slowed down. I went too late on the brakes. Nope. This is what I call a garbage lap. No off track so far, that's good at least. And here how I do like this. Maybe that's what I have to do here. To carry more speed throughout the corner.
That was your fastest lap of the session.
2.9. Our fast is like a 1.8, so...
You just set your fastest lap of the session.
1.9, that's good. I think the one we analyzed was at 1.8. I think you're gonna go wide. Yeah, I was slower there than I should have been. I was looking my delta.
Slow down. You got a penalty for cutting the course.
I don't have the delta here because it gets me anxious. But then I'm looking on the wheel, which is harder. Like you see if you don't shave off like enough speed. So it has to be slightly harder on the brakes here. Or early. Not necessarily harder, but just early here. You see, like that was a good lap. Let's just continue, so like you practice other corners as well. This is a very good exit. I think I have to turn in a little bit later. Good. No, it's too late on the brakes. Yeah, it's super early on the brakes there. I've realized that. Even more with the speed I can carry. Let's work now and try to have the best, like, another fastest lap. And that wasn't a fast corner, like a fast section, so... Yeah, this is not something I can repeat, right? So... It's kind of garbage so far. It's a decent lap, but it's not like... The car is to lose. Yeah, I can go on the gas much earlier, so I can naturally use this, not artificially. Couple more. We can do this.
Jensen Babe said, "How is Navarra going?"
Good, man. Better, much better than
Jensen
Ledenon.
Babe said, "Almost 200 subs, nice job."
Yeah, can you believe it? Thank you. And if you are in the stream, Jensen also just started his channel and he's posting fast laps. Jensen's been a friend of this channel for a long time, so make sure you follow him as well. Make sure you follow him as well. We're all supportive of each other here.
Jensen Babe said, "Up to 12 subs." Jensen
It
Babe
was 4 last time I
Sick.
checked, so like,
hit
going
the big
good.
10 a couple days ago.
nice, nice. I still remember when I hit my 10. I was kind of harassing friends and family to subscribe. I remember the 100. And now I've been tracking the 200.
That was your fastest lap of the session.
So this has been my fastest lap, like 1.7. The one we analyzed there was a 1.8. So over slow down here for sure.
Jensen Babe said, "I have gritting for race, he'll be back soon."
Okay, okay. Bring the win. Bring the win. There's not a good exit, to be very honest. Yeah, that was a very bad exit, last one. Maybe I should go on the gas slightly earlier. Like this one, I go like slightly before I hit the apex. What's our optimal lap? Not that big of a delta, to be honest. 1.5. Let's try to pursue that. Yeah, too much speed. It's not gonna go wrong. No. You see, like, the delta is distracting sometimes. This was not a good, like, few corners. It was a crazy last sector though. If I had a good exit here, maybe I should go on earlier on the brakes. I feel like hitting the curb there is making me slower actually. Too late on the gas. I'm gonna do like another 5 fast laps here. Let's try to get 5 consecutive fast laps. Off track. Okay. Let me relax here and focus. Yeah, I have to commit to the brakes a little bit harder, maybe. Almost. Sorry, this was garbage as well. Of course, it's not gonna end up well. Too much speed. I do feel like if I can consistently carry this much speed here.
Shivan Andrews
Hey, Shivanan.
said, I think I'm softer on the brake into T1. I drag it for a long time.
Yeah, but then I have to start earlier, right? What's your braking reference there? Mine is the patch on the, like, there is a patch here. I try to go like a car before the patch. Like, this is actually a good...
Shivan
This was
Andrews
okay executed.
said, the patch.
Yeah, same thing, right? This was still like 2/10 like slower than my best. But there is still time to be gained here.
Shivan Andrews said, I think I'm very close to the patch.
Closer and less on the brakes. That's interesting. Okay, this is already a garbage lap, so let's go again. Are you opening up more or less on the entry? That's another question as well. Like, I'm going very close here, right? So my car is... missed the apex. We're gonna get this right. Our goal tonight is get these freaking corners right. Let me go later.
Shivan Andrews
I can see if I don't
said,
carry enough like brake, this
so
happens.
I think I open it up maybe a car S width to the left.
That's kind of Gianni's line. So Gianni goes like this. And then he goes on the brake here. But he manages to get the car like around here. So let me try that line. Uh-oh, too much. Whenever you see the ABS engaging that much, it's gonna go wrong. Too early on the downshifter. I'm working on my heel rests here, okay.
Sheevan Andrews said,
Yeah,
yeah, that's kinda my line.
I'm being more consistent here though. Not good. Let me try one more time, carry more speed with my line. Let's see how that goes. I'm too afraid. Like this is... Like I have to use this much of the track. So this is kind of the good braking, but I just have to have the car more controlled. So let's open up a bit. So like this is, you know, like this is kind of the line I'm looking for, but I cannot go off track and I cannot slide as much. So that means a little bit harder on the brakes. Almost like if you see like I over slow down because I cut the
You
corner.
gotta slow down and give up that time.
So I can let the car go a little bit further once I nail the first here. It wasn't good. It wasn't bad either. Ah, come on, it's on the track. Let me try like one fast lap here without looking at anything, just focus on the track. A lot of time that helps. Let's try 5 pace laps here, like good pace. Won't necessarily be our fastest test ever. Relax, relax. Brakes. Yeah. No need to say it was complete garbage, right? But we can still see what else we can do here. Gotta go later on the turning there. Okay, this is gone. Let me focus again. Get my mindset in the right place. It was not a bad corner. But if I'm going into this limit during the race, I have to hold the car. Okay. Let me pretend this. Slow is okay, off track it's not okay. So let's focus on that now. over slow down here. Could have carried way more speed. Yeah, this is the problem here if you go too early. I'm gonna complete this lap and go for 4 more because there was no off track. But I'm pushing some specific places to see if we can go faster. Hopefully this will help us build momentum. 3-0. Early on the gas. I felt it was early on the gas there. It was not quite the best corner, and I was super early on the gas. Let's just see like last lap. Yeah, I should not be looking at this. Okay, let's compare against the last lap. Was a bad timing there. Last one was a 5.3. We can beat that easily. So shall we? That garbage lap was a 1.9, believe it or not. Ah, bad exit. Still not a good lap, but it's still decent. Decent, like 2-0. Our fastest 1.7. Bad exit here. I'm still trying to nail that corner. I think that's the challenge right now. And whenever we're in fourth here, we can go on the brakes slightly later. Okay. Too early. That works. Maybe a tiny bit more aggressive on the entry there. Two one. Two more laps. Two more laps. Let's see what we can do. Yeah, that wasn't good.
That was your fastest lap of the session.
Fastest so far. 1.6. We must be doing something right? Okay. I think it's good though. I think it's good. We got a 6.9. 1.69. Further decreasing the gap to the coach. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, it's about time. So let's see what this looks like in VRS for a second before we call it. So let's analyze. And if you see like a difference to VRS, it's because of the track conditions. So Gianni. We're like 0.4 now, which is awesome, right? So I'm pretty excited, to be honest. I think this is the closest we've ever been to him. So it's a 0.435, 0.435 divided by 60 plus 51 plus .208. Well, 0.4%. 0.4%. Let's go back there. So T1, so we're losing a lot of time in 2, 3. Like we were losing couple hundredths. Now we're losing a lot. We're slowing down too much, and all the time we're losing is between, like it's in the entry, not on the exit. So you gotta have like a better entry here. T4, which is this one, we're cutting like it's good. 5 through 7, we're losing 2/10. Now we're just losing less than a tenth. I think this is pretty good, to be honest. 8's the same, straight's the same. Then 9 and 10, I think we're losing about the same still. I think it was it before. And then 11 through 12, which is the double left-hander, we're gaining almost a tenth throughout. Right, it's even better like on the first part. If I can keep like this momentum here, if I can keep the speed here and up, I'll gain even more. Then 13, gaining some, then lose here, then again here, but now we're gaining more here than losing the straight. So it's pretty good. Let me see if I can have like a good turn 2 and 3. I think we can. If we can do it, we can realistically be within like 1 or 2 tenths from his time. It's just gonna be a matter of getting all the other like 15 corners right, but I think we can do it. So let me try. Let me be less scared of it. Yeah, we can do it. I know how to do it, so let's let the car carry more speed there. Ah, come on, we got this, we got this. I really want to do like, because we just did a sector 1.2 like faster, so I really think we can do it. It's really like being comfortable carrying more speed here. Like here, using this outside here. Almost.
Kev said, your laps look good, only thing is I don't remember what lap time I have done before.
I have the conditions in our Discord server if you wanna give it a shot and select the same track conditions. I'll guess we're probably close to like 0.9 here, if I had to guess. Oh, this is not enough for us to call a win, so... I saved the car, but it was too much rotation there. I really want to get this right, man. I really want to get this right. I'm gonna be so proud. Let's do it, let's do it. Almost. But we can do it. We're 3 tenths lower, I think. So, or 2 tenths, I don't know. So it's all here. It's realistically all here. Good enough. That's good enough. Ah, come on. As soon as I get this right, I'm gonna remove the delta. I'm gonna stop looking at delta. I'll leave the delta to you guys. Insane! That was insane. So I'm just focused on bringing this back. That's insane. Okay, still gains, still gains. Let's go. Let's go. We can still gain more. Let's go. Stay in, stay in, stay in. Ah, I lost some time. Ooh, we are at the limit. We're at the limit, which is fine. I'm not disappointed. I'm happy with what we're doing here. So let's try a couple more times. I cannot lose balance of the car on that second curve. So first one we're clipping a lot. We got this, guys. We got this. Come on, come on. Go on the brakes. Gotta keep the balance here. Yeah. Good, good, good. Good, great. That's great. Keep pushing, keep pushing. Not good enough, not good enough, not good enough. We have to nail that corner now. The first one we're nailing like... Stay in, okay. So where am I losing speed? It's on the entry there. It's not on the exit, it's on the entry. So maybe, let's see. Now let's focus on that. This is good. How's my heart rate? Let's go, guys, let's go. That's good, that's good, that's awesome. That's freaking awesome. That's freaking awesome. Ah, we locked
That
the...
was your fastest lap of the session.
We did it. We did it. We did it. If you're still here, this
Great wall.
deserves a
Said,
freaking like.
banger lap.
Ah,
Make sure you cut the
man.
cord. You'll
Let's
have to
celebrate
slow
Ala
down to
Mohammed.
secure the time gained.
Mohammed celebration here. Damn.
It looks like you've got some engine trouble.
No,
You've
this is
probably lost some
BS. My car
power.
has a lot of power.
Looks like you
Jeez,
can't
I'm gonna
tow.
save this lap. I'm
You'll need to
so
tow back to
freaking
pit lane.
proud. I'm
Press
so
and hold the
freaking
reset
proud.
button and we'll come and get you.
Jesus. Yeah, so it's this one. It's lap 56, right? So let's... Yeah, I have to save this one. Like, I might even post this one. Doesn't matter this. So let's go here. Create slice. Let's watch it together because I think it was worth it. I think it was worth watching together, this one. From behind. Clip the inside, earn on the brakes, smooth. Let the car carry speed. Use the outside. Second gear. Go hard on the gas. Control the rotation. Mid-track. Clip in here. Use the dirt to drag you in. Right before the white, 20% brakes. Slow down, go on the gas, push, go outside. Brake. Second gear, aim for the inside. I could have used more, there's more time there. There's like half a tenth there, like maybe a tenth. Let the car slide, brake. Use all the rotation here. Go on the gas, prevent the car from oversteering. Good. Good stuff. Brake. Calm down. Don't look the delta. Second gear. Use all the outside. Use it. Yeah, good. Set us up for the good inside here. Brake. Go on the gas. Carry as much speed as you can. Use the track on the outside. Brake on the red. Go early on the gas. Use the outside. We could use more outside here. There's more time here. Brake on the red. Second gear. Hit the curb, go on the gas. We can use more of the outside. There's more time here, guys. There's a legit like 2 or 3 tenths at least. Good freaking lap. Should I leave the Mohammed celebration? I should. Let's leave the Mohammed celebration. Man, I went far. For someone trying to crash, I went far. And I'm gonna save this one. This is AM, that's me, Alomelo. M2. This is Navarra. 151.296. Jeez. Man, I'm so proud. Loser lap. That's a loser lap. Let's find like a new winner lap here. And because it's VRS, I have to refresh. It's a pain in the butt. This is it. Let's get from... Ah, come on. Are you gonna force me to? Okay. So VRS is very good when it works. Not so good when it doesn't work. So let's go. Come on. Okay. Teammates. Gianni. Man, we are 0.37. Jeez, I didn't know we're so close. This is 0.037. 0.037. We are 0.03% of his lap time. Like, faster on turn 1. We matched turn 2 and 3. We're 3/10 slower. Faster to turn 4. So right now, like here, I'm faster than he is. Like, of course, like he can destroy this in a second. Then we reduce like to 5/10 around here. And that's mostly around this first leg here, because we're over braking. We can carry more speed. So let's work on that next time, not today. Then here he's faster. Why? Yeah, I feel like I was under a lot of emotion, trying to carry a lot of the delta. So try not to screw this up. So fast in, slow out, which costs like some time on the straight as well. The 9 and 10 were faster. Good job, Alan. We're shaving off like more speed on the beginning and then getting to the throttle earlier and then carrying more speed throughout the exit, which also helps us set up for a good 11 and 12, carrying as much speed as we can. We can even carry more speed on the second corner. So let's try to do this next time. 14 and 15 are like, yeah, this is our line. I'll commit to it. It's fine. Like I prefer my line. I can try his line though. And then yeah, guys, yeah. I'm gonna message Gianni now, and let's finish this in a good note. So if you are still here, tomorrow we are gonna try to have a hosted session. I'm gonna send the details on our Discord server. Please confirm if you are in the Discord server so we can have 10 people, 10 p.m. Eastern. I know already the track and the car. It's free car, free track. Let's have some fun. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm super happy. That was a banger lap. Thanks you guys for staying until the end. And I'll catch up with you tomorrow. Hit the like button. This deserves it. If one session deserves like a like button, this was it. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow.